Coach, what an honor. Obviously, I got to work with you this entire year on Inside the NFL, got to know you pretty well. I mean, 8 total Super Bowls, 6 as the head coach of the New England Patriots, the greatest dynasty of this era. I mean, and now a New York Times bestseller. The Bill Belichick legacy extends almost as long as your resume. I just want to ask, Coach, with everything that's going on, just how are you doing in dealing with all of the things that you've been having to deal with recently?
Yeah, good. Just, control what you can control and, focus on football.
Yeah. All right, Coach, so I have the book here in my hands. Coach, it says here, thank you to my idea mill and creative muse, Jordon Hudson, here in the acknowledgments. Why was it important to make sure she was acknowledged in this book?
Because she had a lot to do with it. One of the great ideas that she came up with is when I was writing the acknowledgments and kind of tribute to Coach Parcells, Lawrence Taylor, Tom Brady, my dad, 4 people that really meant a lot to me in my life. She came up with the idea of, why don't you give them their page? Give Taylor 56, give Brady 199, give your dad 106. That's how old he would have been if he were alive today. And I thought that was a great idea. So we incorporated that into the book, and those tribute pages are with the numbers that correspond to, to those 4 people. And so I thought that was a, great idea and wanted to give her credit for it. When my dad wrote his book, Football Scouting Methods, my mom kind of was instrumental in editing the book. And she said, look, if I can understand it, anybody can understand it, but some of this is just too technical. And my dad said, all right, well, you make the adjustments. And so in this book, The Art of Winning, there were several times where, Jordan read some of the chapters and was like, oh, man, this is pretty technical here. This is a little, do the average fans understand this?
Yeah.
And I kind of reread it because it's a business book. It's a business book. So I reread it and made some adjustments. And so there's some really good input there to try to make it more of a flowing book toward, business. And it's not a technical book. That wasn't the idea.
Yeah. The first thing you did was the CBS interview. That question wasn't asked about Jordan in that interview, Coach?
Oh, yeah. No, it was asked. No, it was asked. They asked about her the same similar question to what you asked about her acknowledgement in the book. And I explained that in the tribute pages that she did, but that wasn't shown.
Yeah. A lot of what we got from that was obviously, some of the things saying that she interrupted and, didn't necessarily cooperate through that process. In a lot of what you do, and I'm sure, in part of this book, it's maybe spoken about, it's don't be a distraction, right? And there are former players of yours and media members who are saying because of your current relationship, you may be or may have become that. How are you staying focused on football as the main thing to make sure that that's not something that's happening?
Yeah, that's what I do, as I stay focused on football. And some of the other opportunities that come along, Jordan looks at those and can dig into them a little bit deeper. But really, what she does helps me spend my time on football, and that's what's important to me.
For specifics for people, because I believe that this is definitely one of those questions that are out there, and people are making up their own stories, creating their own narrative. What does Jordan actually do for you that allows you to do your job? What are her actual job responsibilities?
Well, nothing with North Carolina. That would be number one. It would be personal opportunities. It could be a speaking thing. It could be a appearance on this or talk about that, or somebody wants whatever it happens to be, an autographs or that type of thing. And so, she would kind of help organize that for me. And one of the first things that came out was when North Carolina sent me emails saying, like, these people want to talk to you, these people want to talk to you, these people want to talk to you, these people want to talk to you. I sent back an email, can you please copy Jordan on these requests? Right? So, she could at least, filter through them, because there was nobody. We didn't have a sports information guy. That was taken, because all the emails are shared in publicly, that was taken as Jordan's running the sports information department.
Yes.
And
Gotcha.
that also led to the narrative, which is like totally, she's not doing it. I mean, there was nobody that helped me sort them out. So I was asking her to do it.
Right.
And the Hard Knocks thing, like just for the record, Hard Knocks is training camp.
Yep.
And we're not training camp. We're just not. Right. That's not what we are. The drama of training camp and who's going to get cut and all that. Like we're a season, and they don't want that.
Yeah.
There's film issues too, but forget about the film issues. Like, just say you could straighten all those out. The Hard Knocks just didn't fit for us.
Yeah, like
that's the bottom line.
The biggest thing with Hard Knocks is the drama around what happens during that time. This book is about business, the art of winning, but you're a football coach. How does Jordon help you balance the two of those now?
Yeah, I try to focus on football in North Carolina, and some of the other things that come my way are Jordon looks at, and she makes recommendations or gives guidance on some of the other opportunities that that pass through that are non-football, that are outside, that are business, and again, that was similar to the book. There were certain things in the book as I was writing it that she looked at it from a business perspective, and it didn't really fit the business narrative that the book was intended to target. And so not only did she create those pages, but she also brought a business perspective to some of the narrative that came out in the book. So that was very helpful. Jordon has her own businesses, and she's savvy in those. And I'm football, and I'll let her help me with the business.
When you look back at the writing of this book, when did the idea for you spark that this was something you wanted to do?
Oh, it was several years ago, and actually I mentioned in the book too, Ray Dalio is somebody that really encouraged me to, share some ideas. His book, Principles, this is not principles, but lessons, some sort of same idea of the things that I've learned and just how I did my job. Look, the book isn't about here's what you need to do, here's how you should live your life, here's the way to be successful. It's the lessons that I learned. What did I do? How did I handle it? I'm not saying it's right or wrong. It's just what I did. Here are the mistakes that I made. What did I learn from them? And in reading the book, if the reader can take something from that and apply it to their situation or their life, great. Yeah. Great. That's really what it's about. This isn't a this is how you do it book. That's not the idea.
Chan and Fred are here. They're ready to roll.
Hold up. Limitless. Take a stomach, got a pin in it. I fought the head to witness it. Got my people feeling militant. Way I'm feeling got me up. On the mission got me up. Knowing me, I got the key. Only vision I can trust. Limitless. Take a stomach, got a pin in it. I fought the head to witness it. Got my people feeling militant.
Coach.
Hey, CC, how you doing, man?
You good, brother?
Good to see you,
Good
buddy.
to see you, man.
What's up, legend?
How you doing? Good to see you.
Coach, it was great to have opportunity to talk to you, to speak with Jordon a little bit about some of the things, that have been going on, some of the parts and roles that she plays as well. But, this book is written from a history of experiences in the game, but it's also easily equatable to business. Freddie T is here now. He's the business mogul of the Pivot. Chan owns a ton of businesses, from restaurants to boating. I just in the business of Ryan Clark. But guys, welcome to the Pivot again. This is Coach Bill Belichick, as you've been hearing him. I do wonder, Coach, when you're writing something like this and you're taking all of your life experience, all of your football experience to put it into words, how difficult was it for you to narrow down all of those things and say, okay, this is what I want to give the reader?
Yeah, book could have been twice as big. Just stories and all that. But really the idea of the book is lessons from my life in football and what I experienced. Not saying it was right. Certainly there's a lot of mistakes in there and I learned a lot. But, I always say, do your job. Well, this is how I did my job. And some of the things that came across my desk, some of the situations that I dealt with, here's what I did, here's why I did them, here's what happened. And that's what it is. And how that applies to somebody else's life is up to the reader. Not trying to give them a formula, just trying to talk about what I did and hopefully some interesting stories along the way.
Freddie T, what's the saying you always say that Coach?
Do business as business is being done.
Yeah,
I love it.
It's a business book.
Look, I absolutely fell in love with it because it applies to not only football as the setting that we were in when he was telling the entire team in the team meeting setting, but it applies to life, right? It reminds me to keep the main thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And no matter what it is, you have to like stay in a straight line. And basically, he was just telling us, look, if the game calls for it, like this is what we're going to do at that particular moment. And all the guys just bought in. It was just the easy way to just dial in and do what you needed to do to go and win the game. And that's what we did.
And do the main thing. Your friend Nick Sabans, he's been on the show, and I know all the sayings, Coach, but the greatness of it, like you're talked about like Vince Lombardi and Don Shula and all of those guys. You tell people don't get caught up in the noise. When did you know that you were special? I always wanted to ask you this question. When did you know that you were a special coach, that Bill Belichick is on the level of Don Shula, Vince Lombardi, those guys? Like, and I don't think it got to you because of your success, but when did you know?
Well, CC, you know this, and Fred, you guys know this too. Players win games.
Yep.
Players win games. And as a coach, you just try to put the players in a position where they can go out and execute and win. And when you don't do that as a coach, you've lost the game. Coaches lose them, players win them. But you guys got to go out and make the plays. You don't want me out there making them. I guarantee you that. And so I think that that's really all I've tried to do, is put players in a position where they can go out and do what they do and win for us. And ultimately, you got to have good players to win. Good coaches can't win. Great players win games.
Coach, I got to tell you, because I was on the sideline with Cameron. I won't say too many names. I was on the sideline, and we're looking across as players and saying, Bill got something for us. Like, you changed it. You changed the math. Like, as a coach, you tell players to change the math. You got one-on-one, change the math, change the math. You changed the math. You changed it as a coach.
But all I try to do was put the players in position to do what they could do. And what Tom Brady did was different than what Matt Castle did. And was different than what, Cam did. Yeah. And, you just try to play to the players' strengths. And Rodney Harrison was the second greatest defensive player I coached behind Taylor. But he's different than Devin McCourty. They're both great players. You try to let them do what they can do and let them play the game to their strengths. And I think that's your job as a coach, is to get the team prepared to play and then put them in a position where they got a fair fight. And if we try to run off tackle, strong safety blitz all day, that's just bad coaching, and we can't win. And good players can't overcome bad coaching. Good players got to have an opportunity to go out there and play. And I just want to make sure that I would give them that opportunity as a coach, whether that was a position coach or as a head coach. Didn't matter.
Right. You're being very modest right now. See, because I think the NFL game it comes down to, like, the margin for error is so thin, right? Mm-hmm. Because everybody's amazing. All of the players are great.
Everybody's good.
Very elite. But you have to be, as you said, in those positions. I think situationally, that's the one thing I learned the most from you during my time in New England that was different than when I was in Jacksonville. Just situational football. You had us prepared. Those little quizzes that we would do on Thursdays, we would come in and we would know if it's fourth quarter, down by this amount of points, what they were running, and all this different stuff. So we were extremely prepared situationally. And I think that's a big part of it, right? Not every coach had that, or at least in the places that I've been. So,
well, let's face it, Fred. Half the games in the NFL come down to one possession. Mm-hmm. Half the games. So those situations are important. And all the big games, you got to figure that's what it's going to come down to. So, we took that very seriously. But again, in those critical situations, somebody's got to make the kick, somebody's got to make the run, somebody's got to make the tackle, somebody's got to cover somebody. It's not me.
Hey, Coach, on page 199, that's Tom Brady's page, right? That's the slot that he was drafted by the New England Patriots. And so, that's his page. On that page, there's a quote that says, "You cannot win the game until you keep from losing." Talk a little bit about that quote and how Tom Brady personified that.
Tom did three things I thought were just unbelievably great. As a quarterback, we all know the worst situation you can be in is long yardage. And so as long as the ball moves forward, you stay out of long yardage. And Tom did such a great job of not allowing negative plays to happen to our offense. No pre-snap penalties, no sacks. If the run didn't look good, he would check it to the other side or throw a quick look pass to one of the receivers. But he kept us out of negative plays and kept us out of long yardage. So 2nd and 10, the worst we were going to face is, 3rd and 10. But usually 2nd and 10 became 3rd and 5, and then you got a chance to pick it up. And so he didn't have the negative plays. No sacks, no turnovers, no interceptions, no strip sacks, no negative runs, no pre-snap penalties, and minimal long yardage situations. So that was number one, great. Number two, as I've told Tom many times, Tom, we can't gain any yards until you get rid of the ball, until he hands it to you or throws it to Randy or throws it to Julian. We can't gain any yards. You can't gain any yards. Give the ball to somebody else who can. And he did a great job of that, and Tom really understood how Randy could be productive, how Kevin Falk could be productive, how James White could be productive, how Rob could be productive, how Julian could be productive, what the skills were of those guys, how to use those guys, almost like a point guard. And then, of course, he made, great decisions under pressure and had a tremendous ability to see the field and understand situational football and make quick decisions under pressure. To me, those are the things that made Tom. He did a lot of things great. Those are the things that made him truly elite.
Quick, Fred, before you say something. You pointed at Fred, Coach. By the time you got Fred, he was a liability. He wasn't an asset anymore, was he?
He could gain yards.
Where did this come from?
Freddie, my man, because he gonna point at you because I know he did
the
nice.
first, actually, before I ask my question, during my visit, because I interrupted my visit to Cincinnati to go to New England, having gotten a call from the Pats, and our first conversation, it was great. Went in his office, he said, "Look, Florida, all my Florida Gator stuff," and we actually negotiated my deal without an agent, and he was like, "Just keep it out the media." And I understood what he meant and what he stood for, and the rest was history. But my time in New England was, I spent 11 years in Jacksonville. My 2 years in New England, unfortunately, didn't go the way any of us wanted it to, because we didn't get to the Super Bowl, and I got banged up a couple times. But the experience was priceless. I was able to take that back to Jacksonville and tell these guys, look, this is what it's going to take in order to get to that championship level. So every day for me, I was a fly on the wall. And I was able to absorb everything that he was trying to give the entire team. And I share a lot of that now when I go on speaking engagement, talking to different teams and all of that. But, Coach, I want to get back to Tom. As great as Tom was, right, many people would think that he would probably get preferred treatment, but you didn't. Like, you hammered at Tom as much as you hammered at the practice squad guys, anybody else. Why was that important?
I think it was really important because, and Tom knew it, and Tom brought it to my attention, it enabled him to give more leadership to the offense. Mm-hmm. If I didn't point him out, then everybody walks out there feeling like, well, they got yelled at except for him. But when I could, make points to Tom, then Tom could say, hey, fellas, look, he got after me too. He got after all of us. We got to get it going. And I learned that from Coach Knight. Coach Knight did that with Jordan in the Olympics. And he told Jordan, I'm going to be on you. I'm going to be on you hard, especially on defense, because I know you can take it. Jordan says, bring it on. I just want everybody else to play better. Bring it on. Because if you're yelling at Michael Jordan,
You're like,
everybody else got to come go, And so a lot of times I would tell Tom, hey, Tom, it could get a little rough in there today. Just want to let you know. He goes, well, make sure you include me because I need to be part of it. Oh, don't worry, I'll include you, Tom. Don't worry about that.
Ain't no problem.
You talk about, you have a chapter in your book called Star Players. This chapter 6. And in the start of it, you talk about, you said, to be clear, the challenges that sometimes come along with star players are good challenges to have. Talk a little bit about some of those challenges of having the star player and why those challenges can be good.
Well, one of the funny stories in that book really is the Antonio Brown story. You know, he was only with the Patriots for 11 days. I mean, and he, you know, Tom's very nutrition oriented, and you know, Antonio wanted to. Tom had Antonio come and stay at his house, wanted to embrace him, bring him onto the team, so forth. Went down there, and we actually beat Miami in Miami, which was, you know, that was good. But Antonio ordered milk. He ordered this special milk for Brady. It cost $5,000. $5,000. And to make a long story short, it kind of got mixed up, and it ended up in the mail room for too long. And by the time the milk went bad.
Right.
And so here we are sitting here with milk, and like, all right, well, what will cost $5,000? Oh my God. So we go out and get $5,000 worth of milk, this special milk, and give it to Brady from Antonio, even though it all, you know, and so now we like turn in like an expense report, like $5,000 worth of milk. I mean, but you know what? Sometimes you just gotta
do it for
the right thing, and I didn't want to ruin the relationship between Brown and Brady on this spoiled milk, so we spent $5,000 to replace this milk. So.
Hey, Coach, you don't cry over spoiled milk either, I guess. along with spilled milk.
You just write out a $5,000 check and get some more.
And Coach, with that thought, like Antonio Brown's, the Randy Moss, because I was down there when y'all brought in Randy.
Yeah.
And some people took a chance on him, and then they went down and set all the records. Randy actually caught 3 on us in Miami that year when they both set the record.
Yeah, and double coverage too. I mean,
Coach.
I know.
Me and the defensive coordinator got in an argument on the sideline because he started cussing us out. Randy could jump 15 feet in the air. Go make a play. I said, Coach, there's nobody else that can jump that high. If he sets his feet, no one can. And Tom knew exactly where to throw it. But no one knows players could like you said, you just gave the players so much credit where you put players in position to make plays. But for those guys that have had, you know, different trouble and different things like that, is that where great coaching comes in, where you can go take a guy and make him look like he was at his prime?
Well, you know, Randy, I think, look, I love Randy. I think Randy was frustrated in Minnesota because he wanted to win probably more than the organization did. He was frustrated in Oakland because he wanted to win more than the organization did. And I think when he got to New England, he felt like they want to win as bad as I do. So, you know the story when I traded for Randy Moss. See, it was in between the draft. It was a 2-day draft, Friday, Saturday. Yeah. And we had to give up a 4th-round draft choice for him, which was the first pick in the Saturday draft at noon. And so when the draft was over, I called Mr. Davis on Friday and said, like, are we going to do this deal? He goes, yeah, I want your 4th-round pick in tomorrow's draft. I'm like, Mr. Davis, it's midnight now, and the draft starts at noon. He goes, well, that's your problem. Like, all right. So I call up, I get Randy's number. I call him up. I said, Randy, this is Coach Belichick. Hangs up on me. Dial him up again. Randy, this is Coach Belichick. Who is this? Who is this a prank? Who is this? This ain't Coach Belichick. Hangs up on me again. Randy, please, hold on, Randy, before you hang up. Hang up. Hold on, we just traded for you. He goes, what do you mean? Yeah, it's, he goes, really? All right. I said, look, you got to get up here tomorrow. We got to redo your contract. You got to take a physical, and we got it all done by noon. He goes, I'm in Houston. I said, well, what do you want to do? He goes, I'll be there. 9 o'clock. He's there. Gets a plane, gets up there, comes in there at 9 o'clock, takes physical, does the contract, and it's all done by noon. We make the trade. Randy said, all right, look, where's the playbook? I said, yeah, we'll get you one. I mean, just signed 5 minutes ago. I said, yeah, we'll get you one, no problem. He goes, yeah, because when I go out there with Brady in the first team, I ain't going to make a bunch of mental errors. I want to know what the plays are. I want to know the checks. I want to know the signals. I want to know everything. So I'm not going to go out there and look like some dummy, all right, with Brady at quarterback and like this guy don't know what to do. He goes, so I want the playbook, and I'm going to have everything down by the time we start minicamp. And that was like 3 weeks later. So I said, okay, Randy, look, let's talk about this. I said, look, when we get this post-safety coverage, he goes, Coach, you ain't going to see any more post-safety coverage. You can forget about post-safety coverage. I said, well, Randy, we just see, he goes, Coach, you ain't going to see no more post-safety coverage. Okay, I'm just telling you. I'm like, all right. It was, look, here's some things I can do. I said, listen, Randy, I've never been fast, okay? I don't know what it's like to be fast. If I'm running, they catch me. If you're running, I can't catch them. Okay, I don't know what fast is. What do you do when you're the fastest guy on the field? He goes, Coach, you just give me some room and I will go. I said, can you beat the free safety across? He goes, well, if I can, I will, but if I can't, I'll break it back here. He goes, give me an option. He goes, I can attack the deep part of the field. Put me in the slot. I'm like, you want to go in the slot? He goes, yeah, because they can't stop me from the slot. He goes, I ain't going over the middle on a little 2-yard hook route. I'm not doing that. But if you want me to go deep, I can attack the middle of the field from the slot. And so Randy taught me how a fast receiver can attack the defense, because we never had anybody like him. And 23 touchdowns or whatever it was. And so I learned so much from Randy about how a fast player can attack the defense.
Coach, is that why you had such an affinity for short white wide receivers?
That's what we didn't have. I mean, I never had a guy like that. Michael Jackson in Cleveland was fast, but Randy was fast and had a lot of experience. It was really, really smart. Yeah. Like, he knew how to attack defenses. Yeah. And what drove him crazy was they would roll up into him, and he had a go route, and they would yell at him because, well, you're not running full speed. He goes, well, where am I going? The guy's standing right there, and there's nothing I can do. I'm just running right into the guy. Give me a chance, and I'll run as fast as I can run. And then we started putting in some deep plays for him where he would run, at the post safety and then break off him, or to half field safety and break off of him, or run right through him on quarters and stuff like that. I mean, he was like, he knew how to attack the deep part of the field, and Tom would just lay it out there.
Coach, to that point, because we got terrified when there was 7 seconds left on the clock, and Tom would look at him and he'd do that, whatever they do, that little hand signal, and Moss would nod his head, and we knew that they knew what we were in. Did you know, like, when you have great receivers, or I believe you can see football ahead of me. I speak for Ryan and Fred. Sure. You can see football ahead of us. You don't show any emotion on the sideline, but when you got something, a blitz or Randy Moss on a single high, do you be like, okay, yeah, we got their ass?
Yeah, no, you're sitting there like, this is what we're looking for. This is what we want. You just got to hit it.
Coach, why don't you get excited? Because we get scared, you don't get excited.
After the play. CC, after the play.
You don't really look very excited after the play either, though, Coach. It's like he win the Super Bowl, he's like, that was nice. Good.
No, not after the Super Bowl.
Let's get ready for the draft. Let's go on ahead.
In your chapter on culture, Coach, you said something that's surprising to me. You said that there was no Patriot way, but we heard the phrase all the time. And like, you hear the phrase all the time now with any coach or player that's coaching now that played or coached for you. Where did the Patriot way, at least that saying, come from?
I don't know. I think it was a marketing thing. And as I said in the book, I think somebody probably made a lot of money on that.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's come to work every day, get better than you were yesterday, and keep stacking those good days together. Work hard, do your job, put the team first, pay attention to details, and ignore the noise on the way out. Manage expectations. Don't hype things up. Speak for yourself. I mean, those are kind of our pillars, but it's a commitment towards improving and getting better every single day. And that's really, to me, that's what football is about. You play once a week. You got 6 days to improve and work. And if you waste those days, you're just not going to achieve what you want to achieve on Sunday.
Coach, you were no different, right? You evolved into being the coach that won 6 championships as a head coach of the New England Patriots. But I'm sure many of these pillars were things that were important to you throughout your coaching career. You mentioned earlier how players win games, and you just have to make sure as a coach you don't put them in bad positions. How much different do you have to be as a coach once you realize you no longer have those players that can make a huge difference on the field?
Well, you just try to keep, helping everybody be the best they can be. And some players are more talented than others. I mean, that's, some guys on the practice squad, there's guys on the roster, there's starters, there's all pros, there's Hall of Famers. I mean, they're all different levels, but you just want to keep, improving every single day. And my job as a coach and as a teacher is to help them get better and help the team get better. How do you help the team get better? One thing in the book, I talk about that I think you guys would love. Best key I've ever seen. Best key I've ever seen. Banks comes up to me when I'm Giants. Banks comes up to me and we're playing the Eagles. And of course, play them twice a year. There's no free agency. So it's the same team every year. Keep playing them over and over and over again. I'm going to have one new guy. We might have one new guy. It's the same thing. Banks comes up to me, says, Coach, I got a key. Now, listen, hold on. But I'm just telling you, I got a key. When Spagnuolo comes up, puts his arm here like this, it's a run. And when he wiggles his fingers, it's a pass. I'm like, come on.
No chance.
Are you kidding me? He goes, I know. But he goes, just check it out. I'm like, all right. So I look at all the end zone film, and I'm like, God, it's unbelievable. Just wiggling his fingers on. All right. I mean, what are you going to say?
Right.
That's 100%. We go play the Eagles. First series, we come off the field, defense, we get a 3-and-out, come off field, and Banks is, he's still doing it. We play him the next year, or, play him a second time around, go into the game, first series. Coach, he's still doing it. I mean, I've never seen anything like this. It was crazy.
He did it for years.
It could be 4th and inches. It could be 3rd and 20, and it's a run.
Wiggle or no
It's
wiggle.
unbelievable. It was unbelievable.
Honestly, though, as a player, though, Chan, Fred, when you got one of them, the level of excitement is off the charts.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Because you're like, I'm gone.
One of my best games, one of my most tackles for loss I've had, because Zach Thomas has a mind like you.
Yeah.
And he told me in the first quarter, if 89's on the ball and 86 steps off in 12, they're running. So just shoot your gap. And I was like, Zach, if I shoot my gap and this tight end goes running down this field, I'm getting cussed out. Go, CC. And I had like 2 or 3 tackles for loss on Thanksgiving Day. It was because he saw a key and he knew the key. So it works.
I have a question. Would you get that many tackles for loss if Matt Light was out there?
Oh, boy.
Me and Coach talked about the Matt Light situation. Coach, did you think I was crazy?
Oh, man.
But even over being in the AFCs, did you think I was crazy? Because you didn't draft me. I was going to ask you about that, too.
We wanted to draft you.
I was supposed to go 32 to the Patriots because y'all won the Super Bowl, and then you took Logan Mankins. It was supposed to be me, and I lost millions of dollars, Coach.
Because of Coach.
He didn't draft me.
He should Shador Sanders you.
If Mankins wasn't there, Mankins played for Pat Hill. Mankins is a hell of a player.
Yes.
I couldn't pass up Mankins.
Hey, he was
I
amazing.
love Mankins.
Yeah.
But you're our kind of player. I mean, big linebacker, athletic, play inside, play outside, blitz. Like we loved you.
You like Mankins more.
Well, look, Mankins played left tackle.
It's important.
Mankins played left tackle. We played him at guard, but he played left tackle 4 years at Fresno State.
Yeah.
So, and he played for Pat Hill. Pat Hill and I coached together at Cleveland. I mean, I just knew Mankins was our guy.
Was a good
And he was. I love Mankins. But Light, I love Light. But Light, he kind of got everybody, and sometimes you didn't mind seeing somebody get light once in a while. You know what I mean? But that was really one of the greatest scenes of all time because like they'd been going at it, and you knew something was going to. And finally, like there they go, like they get in a fight, and both of them get thrown out of the game, right? Yeah. And so Light comes over to our bench, and so I'm like, great job, Matt, thank you. Now we have no left tackle. This is really going to help us. What the hell are you doing? And so our security guy, Briggs, takes him and walks him down there. And I see CC going down the other sideline. In Miami, there's one tunnel. Yeah. There's one tunnel, right? And so I see him going down. I look down and I see Light going down, and they're turning the corner at the same time. And they each got like a little security guard. It's about 175 pounds. And now they're starting to walk right at each other to the same tunnel to go out. I'm like, Jesus, here we go. God, Jesus.
Coach sees everything.
Coach, you knew Channing was crazy over there. I do have a question. Outside of Patriots players, the most excited I've ever seen you talk, or excited I've ever seen you be to talk about another player, was Ed Reed. Why were you such a huge fan of one of your biggest opponents and competitors?
That guy's so good. He's so good. I knew about him. We drafted a corner who's passed away, Leonard Myers. We drafted him the year before from the University of Miami. And so his rookie year, at the end of his rookie year, like November, December, whatever it was, I said, hey, who's the best player at Miami? Got a few guys down there in the draft. Is there anybody that you think's any good? It was Ed Reed, best player on the team. I go, well, how good is he? Best player on the team, best player I've ever seen. This guy's a great player. I'm like, okay, because I respected Leonard Myers. I mean, he was a pretty smart guy, and I said, okay, it's that good. He goes, yeah, there's nobody even close to him. Nobody even close. All right. So I start watching him. I'm like, oh my God, this guy is blocking punts and returning punts, intercepting passes and tackling. He's kind of a tall, skinny guy. He's not that tall, but he's skinny, but he's powerful and he's explosive. He's a good tackler too. And man, is he fast and got good range. And so I'm like, oh man. Then he goes to Baltimore. We didn't get him, of course. And so now he goes to Baltimore. Now we're playing against him in the AFC. And as a punt rusher, he was just, unblockable. Like, this guy was unblockable. And we had a special protection for him. We had hurricane protection. And if number 20 was on the field, we ran hurricane protection. We double-teamed him, and we let somebody else go to get two guys on him. It was ridiculous how good, we were scared to death of him. The guy had him on the line, and then the PP had him too. We right. Double-teamed him. Hurricane protection. I'm like, oh my God. But they didn't use them all the time on punt rush. I don't know why, but they didn't. And so we'd look out and we'd just run a regular stuff. But if he was out there, special protection for Ed Reed. And then the play he had against Peyton Manning, where he baited him into an interception and everything. Brady and I watched that play. And it's like, oh my God, this guy's. I have a ton of respect for him because he could play corner. Yeah. He was a good blitzer. He was a great blitzer. He was unblockable on punt rush. He had great range. If he intercepted the ball, it's probably going to run back for a touchdown because you couldn't tackle him. He could play, it seemed like, any position on the field.
Yeah. And he was always like that. We graduated 20 minutes from each other in Louisiana in 97. And I remember, Coach, I'd have nights where I had a punt return for a touchdown, 2 interceptions, and they had this show called Friday Night Football. And every week they'd pick an offensive player and a defensive player as like the players of the week. And I remember, man, the nights I had the game, Coach, I'd be like, Mom, we gotta go. Like we gotta get home. Like I know I'm gonna be the player of the week this week. Like I went crazy. And man, I had my whole family sitting in front of the TV, and then it was time, and it would be like Ed Reed, 3 touchdowns offensively, threw for a touchdown, caught 2 touchdown passes, a punt return for a touchdown, forced fumble, 3 picks. I used to be like, golly.
Who is he
I
playing?
was like, clearly they got double numbers. Ain't no way he does this every single week. And then he went to Miami, did the same thing, does the same thing in Baltimore, Coach. Like you were right, he is without a doubt one of the greatest football players that has ever lived. But I always found it actually just refreshing for someone of your stature to be able to appreciate an opponent in the way that you did.
You know, one thing I always respected, because, you know, when I was on the, in 2019, you know, I was on the 100th anniversary and we picked, you know, guys for the Hall of Fame and, you know, the all-time team and all that. It's hard to compare those players to the current players because those guys went both ways. And, you know, we specialize. But I've always loved the players who are truly two-way players. You know, like Lawrence Taylor, that guy could have played wherever you want on offense, too. Tight end, running back. I mean, he could have put him at guard if you wanted to. I mean, honest to God. You know, Ed Reed, he could have played offense. He could have played defense. He would have been great in any era, whether it be the 2000s or the 1930s. He could have played in any era. And I have a lot of respect for those players that could have played the game and been great, you know, either time.
Coach, speaking of respect, though, you get the respect as one of the greatest coaches of all time, right? And a lot of times what goes unnoticed is what you do for guys away from the game, off the field. Like, in my mind, I go back to those moments that, you know, you were double down on, hey, guys, when you're away from this building, this is how you're supposed to handle yourself. This is what you're supposed to do or not do. And you saved a lot of people. Like, we had a lot of idiots in the locker room, and you saved a lot of guys' lives. But you were developing them not only into great players that could help us win, but into young men, into men, right? So I guess with that, I want to get to or ask you, what excites you most about working with the young guys again down at NC? Is it you know, an opportunity to develop them, you know, into men? Is it more of that more than anything else?
That's definitely a great part of it. You know, those kids are very impressionable and they want to be good. They want to be in the NFL. And they don't have a lot of bad habits. Now, they don't have some of the skills, you know, that the NFL players have, obviously. But they don't have bad habits and they want to be good. So they're very coachable. They work hard and they put a lot into it. And, you know, we had, like this year in the off-season program, we trained for 3 months from mid-January to mid-April. And we gained 469 pounds of muscle and lost 169 pounds of fat. Well, that's pretty good buy-in from the team. Like, they're really trying, they're really working hard. And so I have a ton of respect for that. And it's great, you know, and as a coach, it was great to see guys, you know, like Brady, like Edelman, like guys like that you draft, Matt Light, you know, come in as rookies and, you know, and then become fathers, men, you know, kind of pillars of the community. And that was very satisfying. But it's interesting for the young guys to watch them. No, I'm just getting started there, but to see their growth through, you know, 4 years of college and how they come from being high school kids who, you know, when they enroll early in the spring, I mean, those guys are really still in high school. And then, you know, they're going to come out and, you know, hopefully go into the NFL.
And that Julian Edelman, he is probably, other than Tom, he has to be like one of your, like, top projects, because he was about to walk himself off the plank during his rookie year. I mean, you dug into him, and he was just ready to crack. You know, a couple times he hopped in the car with me, and I tried to talk him off. But what you guys did with Edelman and what he turned into is, I mean, obviously it's one of the greatest football stories ever. Why did you push him so hard? What did you see?
He was a great competitor, and you know, you did that for us. You know, in the years you were there, you did a great job of mentoring those guys, especially the running backs. You know, that was you know, just your maturity, your professionalism, and you know, your leadership, your toughness. It's hard, you know, it's hard, and you got to embrace the grind and the toughness of it. And so, but Julian did that. You know, he's a great competitor, Steve Neal's another one. You know, Steve Neal never played football, never played high school football, didn't play college football. He wrestled, and then when we got him, I mean, he didn't even know where the huddle was. I mean, we get to the end of the play, and he's like, "Where do I go?"
Right.
Oh, Steve, you go back here with these guys. We'll tell you what to do. Oh, okay. He started for us for 7 years. I mean, you know, you talk about a guy that improved and embraced coaching and embraced training and learned how to be a football player. I mean, for guys who never played football, you know, Sebastian Vollmer played in Germany. He only played 2 years down there at Houston. I mean, you know, guy was became a great player. Like those guys that have that work ethic, that drive, that toughness, they were our kind of players. They really were our kind of players.
And Coach, I'm not gonna let you be modest forever. You were the head coach and GM. A lot of chefs don't buy their groceries and cook them. How much harder is that to do both things? Because Coach, is there anybody that does what you did with they call it de facto GM, but you were picking your players, knowing what you wanted and coaching them. And now in college, because with the NILs, you kind of have to do the same thing. Pick those guys that you know you can mold into those players. Like, why do you want to do that, I guess I'm asking?
Well, it's more than a one-man job. CC, it really is. You know, I had Scott Pioli, I had Nick Caserio, I had, you know, Mike Lombardi. Like, you got to have somebody to do the personnel. You can't coach and be the personnel. There's just not enough time. You just can't do a good enough job. And so, you know, we collaborated together. Here's the type of players we're looking for. They found them, you know, and in the end, we might, again, collaborate on, hey, which one, you know, what's the decision, who do we want, and this type of thing, who would fit better for us. But those guys really handled the personnel side of it, the trades, and you know, there's a lot of legwork that goes with that stuff. You just don't show up and do it without doing all the homework and background work. So I had a lot of great people on my staff. You know, guys like Josh McDaniels and Brian Dable, and, you know, just go right down the line. Scott O'Brien. I mean, you know, and at Cleveland, I had Saban, I had Kirk Ferentz, I had Pat Hill. You know, like those guys were, I mean, they were great coaches, and I learned a lot from them.
Okay,
really
Coach.
So Dante Scarnecchia.
6'3", 245-pound linebacker, All-American that runs a 4.5. You still didn't draft him in the first round. I'm sorry.
Can't get over this Logan Mankins thing.
Hey, killing him, Coach. I do have a question for you, and it kind of comes from listening to you talk about all of the coaches who went on to have successful careers as head coaches and continue to coach for a very long time that, you know, you said you learned from, but they also worked with and under you. A lot of us get an opportunity to have that football role model. Not a lot of us have that football role model in the house. Page 106, which is the age your father would be right now, is dedicated to your father. Talk a little bit about what influence he had on you and your love for football.
Yeah, you know, my dad grew up in a steel town. There was kind of no way out for him except for football. And he was a good football player, so he got an opportunity to go to college, got a college education, played professionally for a year before World War II started, served in the Navy in Great Lakes, and then became a coach. And so football has been great to him, great to my family, and provided great opportunities for me and my kids. He's the ultimate team player. He was a coach that they said, Steve, we need you to go on the road and scout the next opponent that we play. So he never saw Navy play except for the last game of the year against Army. Wow. He would go on the road and come back and, you know, this is what the team did. Well, back in those days, there was no, you only got one look at the play. There was no replay boards. There was no TV. There was no nothing. You got one look at the play. What happened? What was the blocking scheme? What coverage were they in? Who blitzed? What was the pass pattern? And so he became very good at it, wrote a book about it. And then, you know, I went with him and I learned, and you only get one look at the play. You got to, you know, train your eyes. You got to see punt returns, kickoff returns. What's the blocking? Who are they trapping? Who are they double teaming? You know, are they setting a wall? What are they doing? And you got one look at the play. That's it. But that's the way it is as a coach, you know, at least it was. And that's the way it is in practice, right? You get one look at the play and like you correct the players, you know, because if you don't see it, you can't make the correction. So I learned a lot from him in terms of how to watch the game, how to study, how to prepare for the game. And then I would go with him when he presented to the team. He would present scouting report to the team, and then he would watch film with the team, and he would say, hey, here's these tips. Look, see the way this guy's stance is, he's going to the right. See the way his stance is, he's going to the left. See this guy, here he's going to tighten down his split. He's going to double team block. And I started to process some of that together. And look, if you love the game, which I do, and you're not a good player, which I wasn't, then you're a coach.
Then you coach.
You're a coach. So that worked out.
Those who can't do it, teach it. And Coach, I ain't gonna lie, I ain't read the book yet. I'm gonna read it if you give me a free copy because I'm cheap. But Coach, what's the biggest, not even as a coach, not sports, what's the biggest misconception about the man Bill Belichick?
I don't know. What's the conception? I mean, when you say misconception, I don't know. What is it like? I don't know.
You don't listen to what people say about it.
You're unpersonable. You're an asshole. You're not nice. You're put in the corner. You're a hermit. Like what? Like the part. You know how people, and your press conferences. Hey, coach, this is it. Well, we're just gonna win the next game. The mumbles. Like I know you different than most people know you.
Yeah.
What? I would say.
Well, then you can answer that question better than I can.
But Coach, what?
You can answer the question. You guys answer the question.
Coach,
you know what's out there. You know me. So what's the answer?
I try to tell everybody that, as what Channing is alluding to, they get this, like in the media, this staleness or whatever. But in the team meeting room, it's like you're light. It's about business. It's about if you do your job, we can have a good time with this. And it's jokes occasionally here and there. I had a great time in the building. I didn't have a problem with it. I'm like, coach was doing his job. That's a part of him playing chess as a head coach, like not showing any weaknesses. I'm not going to give you this information. I don't care about you fucking morons out there. That was the other piece. But, I care about this team. That's what matters most.
And, Coach, I'll tell you, when I came on my visit to New England before the draft, it was, we can't say the Patriot way. I don't know what we're going to say, but it was very to the moment. So
we were getting our money's worth on those visits.
Okay.
We were getting our money's worth. We were going to interview you with this guy, that guy, the nutritionist, the weight coach, the special teams coach, the position coach, this guy, that guy, scouts, everything. I mean, we were getting our money's worth on that one.
And I had to be in the van at 8 o'clock or 7 a.m. At 6:55, somebody knocked on my door, and the guy stood outside my door to pick me up. But I don't know if you remember, because now your son, who's a coach, and he's coaching with you, we ate lunch together, and it blew my mind because I'm thinking, I'm going to New England, it's Bill Belichick, and I'm trying to be this perfect soldier, and I walk in your office, and your son's in there, and you were like, hey, Channing, you want something? I didn't know what to say. I was like, I'll eat. And I was so nervous doing it. So that's what I'm saying. We know you different, but I think that people haven't seen you as a person, and now I think they're starting to see you as a person. And I think it's
like on the roast.
It's throwing people off, Coach. It's throwing people off to see Bill Belichick not as a robot. It's kind of like we just had Paul George on talking about Kawhi Leonard. People thought you were an alien. I know you're not an alien, but I'll tell people Bill Belichick's not an alien.
Coach, I think, to Fred's point, I honestly got to know you in a different way this year because I didn't play with you.
Yeah.
And I would always tell people, I was like, he's so much more positive than I thought. I thought you would, and you're always analyzing and you're working to be aware and understand, but when something was good, you always said it was. You weren't walking around trying to be like this steely sort of pessimist or contrarian. You were able to say, nah, like this is good. Or when we'd watch film and you'd see something, you were able to say, okay, and analyze it and be like, no, like that's not the way that's supposed to be done. Or that's not the way I do it. Or that's not certain things that I've learned or coach. I do, in part of like Channing's question, and maybe you don't care, so you can say that as well, but how would you like to be remembered for the things that you've contributed to the game?
What I try to do and what I hope I come across as is to do my part for the team, do what I can do to help the team. Well, that was I wasn't even on the totem pole when I started. I was below the totem pole. But wherever you are on the totem pole, if you're at the bottom as like a GA analyst type of thing, or whether you have a position of coach or you're a coordinator or you're a head coach, like we all have important jobs to do, and we can't win unless everybody does them. And we all know how important it is for, guys in the training room, guys in the equipment room, guys on the practice squad, for everybody to contribute. I remember when we had, Damon Heward, and one of the things that was really hard was playing against Peyton Manning, obviously. And Damon Heward went out there and he was Peyton Manning. And we beat the Colts in the playoffs. And I gave Damon Heward a game ball. He didn't even play, but he helped the team by helping the defense, get ready, because he gave us a great look at the way Manning, check plays and did his thing and so forth. And so it's whatever role you have on the team, I've just always tried to embrace it and do the best I can. And I felt like that's what my dad did, and I've kind of took that from him, I guess.
And Coach, your role on the team with Jordan, I saw you doing yoga. Saw you with your legs up in there, Coach. Are you enjoying this? Because there's no way I thought that I would see Bill Belichick doing yoga on the beach.
Trying to stay young.
It's fun. Like, you can have fun. It's almost like you're fighting the fun. Have fun, Coach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's one of his many pivots, because we always ask our guests what's their biggest pivot, right? That's that, one moment you can go look back on and say, without this happening to me or happening for me, I wouldn't be, who I am today. And it might even be in your book.
I'd say a couple of big moments for me was when Coach Perkins hired me as a special teams coach for the Giants in '79. To be a coordinator your fourth year in the league, I know it's special teams, but I mean, even at that point in time, special teams was had a much bigger impact in the game than it does now, where every kickoff's a touchback, and so that was a lot of responsibility, and that was a big step, and I certainly appreciate the confidence he showed in me. And then when Coach Parcells became the head coach and the Giants and made me the coordinator, that was another big step, and that was one that I was young. I think there was some questions, was I ready? Could I do it? And so forth. But he showed a lot of confidence in me, and so that was a big one too. And then, I would say just really the moment was probably Super Bowl 36, where the Rams were, they were a great team. If we had played them 10 times, they probably would have won most of them. But that day we were a little better than they were. That day, week before, we were a little better than Pittsburgh was. The week before, we were a little better than Oakland was on the snow game. And, 49-yard field goal and 4 inches of snow. I mean, what a play that was. And so, I was fortunate to be there at some moments when Vinatieri made a kick and Tylon made the interception and Troy Brown returned a punt. And, Brandon Mitchell blocked a field goal at return for a touchdown against Pittsburgh. And, things really went right. And that kind of, once you win that first Super Bowl, there's just kind of a whole different level of, confidence and, moxie and everything that just comes together on your team. And so, I was pretty fortunate. But look, to be able to coach Lawrence Taylor and Tom Brady, the linebackers I had at the Giants, I had Taylor, Banks, Pepper Johnson, Harry Carson. A lot of people coach those four guys now. Doesn't make anybody a good coach.
Adelius, Coach, I can go through them now.
Yeah, I know you can.
Because he
Now, some of
picked
those-
them and not you.
Now, some of those I picked.
Yeah.
And so I was glad. I'm glad,
Yeah.
I'm glad I had opportunity to coach Brady, but I picked Brady. So at least, so I'm glad that I had the opportunity to coach those guys. Matt Slater's another one. Probably the best special teams player of all time. To coach those three guys, whether you want to call them the best or whatever, but they're right up there. They're right up there. That's a great thrill as a coach to be able to coach guys that are that good.
Well, Coach, I normally do this very early. I'm going to cut the room off before it ends.
I knew it was coming.
I always cut the room off by people that's won championships, Coach. Being that our two friends have never gone to any, they don't really understand what it's like to complete that journey.
Is this nice of a teammate, Coach?
This is when you learn that timing is everything. Because before I got to New England, you guys had gone to a Super Bowl, and like a year after I left, I think you went to 3 in 5 years. I'm like, what the f is going on?
Hey, Freddie T was the problem.
He was dragging the team.
Freddie T was the problem.
I can guarantee you I wasn't.
But Coach, I thank you for your time. Everybody go out, get this book. You know what I mean? It's The Art of Winning by Bill Belichick, already a New York Times bestseller. It's not just for football people, it's for people who want to win at life, people who want to win in business. So many of the principles in this book will help you and can allow you to excel in whatever endeavor or whatever goal it is you wish to accomplish. And honestly, Coach, man, just thank you for your time. I know you're busy. I know you're moving around, but this is something we've wanted to do for an extremely long time, Coach.
Thanks for the opportunity, Ron. I appreciate it. It was so much fun working with you last year inside the NFL.
Yes, sir.
Coaching you and competing against UCC. Yes, man, I'm sorry it didn't work out at New England. I mean, it was really close.
Coach, it wasn't that close.
It was that close.
But we got to come.
I appreciate our friendship and our relationship.
Yes, sir. We got to come to UNC.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let us know when the pivot is invited to UNC. We got to come up there and see.
You're invited. Open the invitation and come down and see us.
And everybody remember, before the season ended, I got Coach to wear a two-tone coat. This is the pivot. Pivot fam, thank y'all for pivoting with us. That was good, man. That was good,
Coach.
Hold up, limitless. Take a stomach, got pinning it. I fought the head to witness it. Got my people feeling militant. Way I'm feeling, got me up. On the mission, got me up. Knowing me, I got the key. On the vision, I can trust. Limitless. Take a stomach, got pinning it. I fought the head to witness it. Got my people feeling militant. Way I'm feeling, got me up.